Okay, this is another video where I'm going to stay mostly off camera. Maybe we'll see the back of my head a little bit, but I wanted to showcase an activity that I do sometimes to keep my swords nice and cutting sharp, and that's called stropping. This is done with leather, and it's a technique that I have been using for many years, thanks to, I think I originally picked it up from Jeeper Randy. I'll link to his video, since his video will go into more details and some better discussion probably than what I'm just doing here in a kind of impromptu fashion. But I'm going to be showcasing the LK Chen WoYaoDao, which I've been using for a little bit of cutting recently, and as a result of it, its edge is perhaps not as sharp as I originally liked. It's still shaving a little bit of my fingernail, but let's take a look. So I've marked off this section of blade here, and we'll see what it does to some paper. And it's not really biting. It's not really going through. Can't really find purchase. So everywhere along here, it's not really going through. Now, if I use Alien Tude's technique, where I poke it through the paper and then draw it along, it makes a kind of ragged cut. So what are we going to do? This setup here is just a couple of items. I have two 2x4s to hold everything together. I have a little piece of leather. This is like crafting leather strips that could be used to make a belt. And it has been nailed down using brass nails so that the metal is softer than the steel of the sword blade. And then on top of that, we're going to apply polishing agent. This is jeweler's rouge. This is the green kind because I usually have this lying around in case I'm going to be doing additional polishing either by hand or by machine for sword blades that need it. So we're going to start off by putting a lot of green stuff on my leather strop. And this is not unlike what they used to do once upon a time at the barbershop with your nice leather strap. You add a little rouge to it, and then you get your straight edge, and you go whap, 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 like in the old Bugs Bunny cartoons. So this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to move my scabbard out of the way. And this is to help us return the blade to a nice edge. Now, this is a technique that is pretty good, especially for folks who maybe aren't very confident in cutting and using things like a whetstone. So I'm going to take the sword, we're going to put it down, and much like you would use it on a whetstone, and I'm just doing this for demonstration purposes, I'm not going to do the whole routine. I'm going to draw it along the length of the leather and the agent. So we'll give it a couple of times. 3, 4, 5. And then I'm going to switch to the other side. And this is helping to, again, it'll apply a little bit of a polish to the blade, but it's helping to work out all the nicks, all the little bumps, everything that has accumulated as the result of use. As I'm doing this, you might be able to see that the agent is changing color because it is a mild abrasive. So this is removing very, very, very small amounts of material of the blade. So it's getting darker as a result of color. Something I should have pointed out is prior to filming, I wiped down the blade. If you have any junk on the blade, if you have any oil on the blade, you should wipe it down before starting. We'll just do a quick 1 or 2 on each side so that you don't get anything nasty in your polishing agent. This can be a little therapeutic. And again, this is good because unlike the stones, which you can really cause a lot of damage to your edge and even your blade if you don't know what you're doing, if you're still learning your technique and how to hold your sword and your angle, the leather is very forgiving, the rouge is very gentle, so there's not a lot of opportunity to get this wrong because all we're doing is working on the very final edge. The downside is this is not an appropriate technique for creating an edge if the sword is, say, a blunt, or if the sword, much like my favorite sword to discuss on this channel, the Kingston arming sword, has a very poor edge geometry, has a bad edge bevel. This will not correct that. This is only looking at the very final edge and just a little bit of material and making your blade nice and shiny. So let's take a look at that. That's not a lot of work, and I obviously, if we wanted to continue the session, we could keep it up for much longer, but I'm not sure if it's picking up on camera right now. The blade certainly does look shiny. The area where it's been worked has had a lot of the little micro abrasions that have come up as a result of use removed. The area a little bit further back still shows them, so I can tell the area that's had the polishing gone on. And we'll try a little bit further back. Still not biting. So where I didn't work, it did not bite. What about the area where we've worked? So that was what? Not even 2 minutes worth of polishing, and it has returned the blades to decidedly paper cutting sharp. So depending on the geometry of the blade, you could return this to razor cutting sharp, just with a little bit of work. So this is something that I periodically need to do with all of the blades that I'm doing work with. So again, it will not correct an edge, or I should say, it will not put an edge on where an appropriate edge does not exist. But if you have a beautiful edge, especially on a really fine cutting sword like one of these LK Chens, or your nice Japanese katana that has one single bevel all the way to the edge, and it's just starting to get a little dull because you've been doing too much backyard cutting, invest yourself in, I've got, $1 worth of wood, maybe $5 worth of leather, and you can get probably 3 of these Jeweler's Rouge for $10 on Amazon. And this will last you, I don't know, probably 10 years. You're not going to run out of this anytime soon. So that's just one more technique to keep your blades super duper cutting sharp. Do it with caution. You'll notice I'm holding onto the edge to the back spine rather than holding onto the front edge, and doing it with a cloth or a towel to make sure that I don't get any fingerprints on it and that I don't lose any fingers in the process. So anyway, one technique to share for today. Hope everyone enjoys. Take care.